Morning, this is Anchor Shivani Gupta, and here with me I have ma'am.
I'm Dr. Monalisa Goswami Sharma. I'm a consultant neurologist practicing in Guwahati, Assam.
Ma'am, it's a pleasure to have you at IPCA. And here at IPCA, we are creating an awareness program which says winning over epilepsy. Ma'am, there is a huge gap in the treatment in India about epilepsy. What do you want to say about it?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, it's a very sad state of affairs because, epilepsy is an eminently treatable disease. And it feels very bad when people who can afford it, or even, like it's very affordable actually, and they still don't come for treatment. So it has been estimated in various studies that treatment gap exists in up to 30% to 90% of Indians. In different areas, the thing is different. In Assam, I believe it would be somewhere around 70 to 90%, if I'm not wrong. So it's huge, really. And treatment gap, for the people who don't really know about it, it just means that 1% of our epilepsy, 1% of our population have epilepsy, and there are good, reasonably priced treatments available, made available by the government of India as well as in the private sector, and still people don't get that treatment. The people who need and are eligible for treatment do not get treatment. So that is treatment gap. And this may be primary treatment gap or it may be secondary treatment gap. Primary treatment gap is when a person has never ever received any treatment. He has never come for treatment for whatever reason. Whereas secondary treatment gap is they do come for treatment once or twice and then they drop out of the treatment regime because the treatment of epilepsy is very prolonged. And this is one thing, for various reasons they cannot continue the treatment. So we have a primary treatment gap and a secondary treatment gap. Now there are many causes, but I feel as a neurologist practicing for nearly 15 to 20 years in the field of neurology, I feel that the most important cause is ignorance and social stigma. Economical reasons also feature because some of the people coming from very distant villages, they do not have the money to constantly keep coming for treatment in cities or big towns, so they drop out because of communication differences. Like they have difficulty in commuting from one place to another, and when it's harvesting season, Indians don't bring their children for checkups. So one thing I would like to pass on this message, that epilepsy can be treated in the local hospitals. You don't really need to come to the towns or the big cities for treatment. This is a treatment which can be given by any doctor who has passed the basic medical course, and it is not expensive. There are many anti-epileptic drugs which are affordable, cheap, and the World Health Organization has also tried to bring the epilepsy out of the shadows. That's the slogan, epilepsy out of the shadows. So it's really very important for everyone to understand that this is treatable, this is affordable, and this is available if you trust your local doctors.
Very true. So, ma'am, how far do you think that the unawareness is one of the causes of epilepsy?
Unawareness is very important in this treatment gap and in epilepsy being treated wrongly or whatever, because people, when there is a social stigma, our people are so dependent on what the society is going to say or do that they don't even take the name of the illness. They don't reveal it. On one extreme, they hide that anyone in their family has this sort of disease, and on the other extreme, there is a misconception that epilepsy can be cured by getting somebody married off. So it's either extreme, like they don't tell the other family that my family member has epilepsy and marries the person off, and then it's a shock for the other person. And all this occurs because of ignorance, because of lack of awareness, and because certain myths have permeated the society. And I feel it's our duty as people working in the field of epilepsy to really try and bust these myths.
Ma'am, it's been 15 years that you're working into this, and I would really like to know what is the most common myth which you have come across about epilepsy?
Yeah, the most common myth that I have come across is that it is usually caused by black magic or, like being possessed by evil spirits, and that it is not curable. Here, I would like to say that it is not caused by black magic or evil spirits. It is caused by a disorder of the brain neurons. The nerve cells in the brain either fire excessively or the inhibitory mechanisms fail to control the excessive firing. So a seizure occurs. It's somewhat like a sudden burst of electricity and then suddenly the fuse goes off. It's something like that. Second thing is that, just one minute. What did I see? The other thing I said was it's not treatable. Yeah. Okay, and it's eminently treatable. That I have said many times. And correct diagnosis, correct use of medications, correct timing, and a long continued, compliance, good compliance, is usually enough to control epilepsy completely in nearly 70 to 80% of patients. So that's a huge number out of 100. And yes, 20 to 30% of people may require lifelong medications, or some may even not be controlled by more than 1, 2, or 3 medications. A very small percentage may not be controlled, that's true. But then we should not label all epileptics as untreatable or that they will never recover from their illness. They do recover.
Right, as rightly said by ma'am. So, ma'am, one last question from my end. So, how far do you think that the people who are suffering from epilepsy can also lead a normal life?
Yes, that's another thing which we have to do myth busting about. Like, many people believe that they are abnormal. Epileptics are abnormal. I would not call them epileptics. I would prefer to call them people with epilepsy. They are not abnormal. Most of them are as normal as any one of us. And any one of us can have a seizure at any point of time in our lives. We must never forget that. And many people with epilepsy, history has already told that they not just live normal lives, they in fact excel in their lives. They do much better than many people without any epilepsy. And we have a lot of examples of that, including cricketers like John T. Rhodes and all. So really, we must start to be more inclusive in our whole approach to people with epilepsy, and we must give them the opportunity to be involved in jobs or in the workplace, but we must also try to make the workplace safe for them. And once we are inclusive and accepting of their problems, then they will also feel, they will easily confide their problems in us, and then even if they do have a seizure in the workplace or something, it can be handled properly. So that, I think, is very important, being inclusive.
Thank you so much, ma'am, and thank you for joining IPCA. And this was ma'am with me. Thank you so much. And I hope this is going to help a lot of patients out there, and they can lead a normal life after listening to ma'am with so much